We were surrounded in a house because they wanted to assassinate Imam. So we got up and left and went to Paris.
His way of thinking was, no, to move the country forward together, we have to all unite. I think that's what made him so dangerous to the people in power.
The time frame, yes, he went on the 26th. He went to Libya. And usually when he goes, he's always in contact with my Imam, Majlis al-Shi'i, and Haraki. And those contacts were not made. He was able to send a small letter. If you analyze it, it's a distressed letter.
Were their last words?
It was a period of time that he was concerned about me. So he said, is there anything you want to tell me? And at that time, I was, as stubborn as I was, I said no. And I regret that.
Till this day, you're still looking for the answer. What happened to Baba?
We're not looking for an answer. We're looking to have them back. All the intelligence, all the information that we have is that they're still alive. They sat with them and they discussed these things. And what they told them is that, yes, they are here. He was interrogated and he said, look, I can give you the names of 2 people that know where he is. But
the whole world has internet now. And someone tells them, look, Hamid, what's something that you would want him to hear?
Help us bring you back. We need you.
There are some people in modern history that really changed the landscape of the world as we see it. And if you want to talk about the Middle East region, if you want to talk about Lebanon, just on a social level, there wasn't many people that did the work that Sayyid Musa Sadr did. The premise of his message, for the most part, was uniting people. We talk about this idea all the time that we have to be united as a country or as a society. He was on the ground visiting village after village, town after town, across different sects, across different religions, and trying to unite the country and the people. He was, in a sense, what you would call in modern day a motivational speaker, but the difference was he would do this in his lectures. He would tell people to become leaders themselves. He would tell people to aspire for greater. He also was very strict on empowering women in a time where that wasn't really the case in society. He was ahead of his time, to say the least. And for those of you who don't know, Sayyid Musa disappeared in 1978 during a trip he had to Libya. The conversation today is with his son to talk about more of what his dad did on a personal level at home, what he stood for. We talk about his disappearance and everything that came after that. It's an eye-opening conversation to hear about a man that we tend to forget, and there's more to it. There's a deeper message. So subscribe if you haven't yet. Like this video if you enjoy what you hear. And with that being said, let's get the show started.
Welcome aboard Middle East Airlines.
والمتوجهة إلى طيران الشرق الأوسط يرحب بمدينة القدس العربية.
Welcome. How are you? Sayyid, I always like to start this conversation off with self-introduction on your part. So I'd like you to introduce yourself, but the way I'd like you to do it is when you look in the mirror, who do you see? Like, who's Hamid to Hamid?
Very hard question. But I'm Hamid Sadr, the second son of Imam Musa Sadr. I came to the United States. I will start my history from the United States in 1983 for college. And I had some financial difficulties because funds were not always available. So I had to work, and I came to Wyoming as a student, and I took classes in Laramie County Community College in Cheyenne. I took 1 semester, but then after that I transferred to Los Angeles. I had some friends there, and I went to college there, and I tried, but it wasn't very successful because finances were not there. So I worked, and with a permit. I did not do anything illegal. So I worked at gas stations, at restaurants, and whatever you can think of as a student trying to make ends meet. In 1989, after 4 or 5 years, I came to Michigan, and I registered at Lawrence Tech University, or at the time it was Lawrence Tech. Anyways, that's not the point. In the field of architecture, and I studied during the night, and during the day I worked again similar jobs. I finished my education at Lawrence in a good standard, yani 3.5, and started working in 1994 with an engineering firm, with a surveying company, which is an engineering firm. And I'm still working with them now. I'm retired, but I do some part-time work with them.
You mentioned you're the second son of Imam Musa Sadr, one, if not the most impactful person in the Middle East. And I think to a lot of people that maybe are my age or a little younger, they look at him as like an icon, like a legend, like, oh, Imam Musa. But they don't understand what he did exactly. They don't understand the story. And I don't think there will be a better person to explain it than you. So take me back to your childhood, like how it was at home when you were a little kid with your siblings, with your mother, with your father. How was the environment in your house like as a young kid?
Sayyid Musa did not put us in a row and say, teach us things. He believed in practice what you preach. Meaning, he showed us what to do, what to be, and he didn't expect us to follow. We learned it slowly, and we did it slowly. That is one part. The second part, Sayyid Musa, when he got to Lebanon in 1959, end of it, he had a big plan ahead of him. He did not, and he had visited Lebanon in 57 and had an idea of what Lebanon is. And having been invited by Sayyid Abdul Hussein Sharaf al-Din, God bless his soul, they had interactions, and Sayyid Musa did not start thinking of the region when he came to Lebanon. Sayyid Musa was in the same process as his father and his grandfather. He was part of a system that had already been developed with respect to our neighbors. So when he came to Lebanon, he started a study. This is one of the reasons that I say that he wanted us to learn by practice, by what we see, not what we say. Mm-hmm. My mom was there to make sure. But Sayyid Musa, from that point when he came to Lebanon, he was in the car, traveling from place to place. He used to travel 100 kilometers a day or more, and went to, if you will, every town in Lebanon.
What do you think he saw that he wanted to change? What was it that he saw in Lebanon? Because you said that he wanted to start from Lebanon. That was his primary goal. What do you think he went and saw and said, no, we need to do something here. This can't stay the way it is?
Lebanon was a feudal-based country. We had a few feudals that controlled everything from the Ottomans onwards. He saw that that was not appropriate. Not only, it's not just because it's not appropriate, but the feudals, what did they do? They made people work for them, and their education was the last thing on their mind. Meaning, one of our prominent politicians, 50, 60 years ago, or 70 or 80 years ago, would say that I am teaching my son for you, so you don't need to educate yourself. This is very low for any human being. Part of being a human is being able to investigate, to work, to learn. So our people, our nation, especially the Shia in the south, they were condemned to the ziraat al-tabgh, to the agriculture of tobacco. And tobacco was a controlled substance in Lebanon. There was the regime, and the regime would control these things. So a whole family, father, mother, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 children would wake up in the morning for many months to check on these plants, and then when it's time to bring them, they would bring them, and they would be working, and it wasn't an easy business. And then to end up with, putting it in piles, and then the regime would come and would bid on it, and they would give them, the nothing that's worth it. So these people did not have much sustenance.
Yeah.
And they would be depending on the regime to give them seed.
Yeah.
So they were stuck in a lock. This is one of the reasons Sayyid Musa started at trying to make them plant other things, but they were controlled by the regime very badly. Some people came out of it. So, to summarize, Sayyid Musa came and he started to work on education, started to work on giving people alternatives to just tobacco. So during the time that I went to college in 82, from 80 to 83 in Lebanon, I went to AUB, and at that time there was so much. Let's go back. The beginning, Sayyid Musa started working in Sur, in that area, and he worked with some of the people that were sympathizers, that had financial good financial status, and he helped build, for example, Muassasat Jabal Amil, which is a trade school. That's one step from being totally illiterate. Also, along the same time, Sitt Rabab came from Iran.
His sister
at the age of 16, and it happened that she got married to Sayyid Hussein, the grandson of Sayyid Abdul Hussein, and he saw in Sitt Rabab a good example to work some of his plans. Sayyid Musa was pro women empowerment, and he did it to as much as he could. Meaning, they started with Sitt Rabab, they started something called Bayt al-Fatat. Bayt al-Fatat was they were some of the young and old ladies, I mean young meaning 16, 17, and some of the mothers that were learning sewing and some crafts to be able to help themselves and their families. That was the beginning. And also along the same time, after a while, they started doing, first aid. They taught some of the young ladies first aid. This developed into the nursing school after a few years. And this Bayt al-Fatat developed into some trades that the young ladies that did not want to continue with their educations past the high school, they wanted to do something else. They learned these trades: hair design, flower arrangement, secretarial, things like that. Things that women can use to become a little more independent or to help their families. So this is the beginnings of that. Now I'll go back to us. At this time, for the longest time, Sayyid Musa was not at home. I mean, he would come late at night when we were sleeping, and then he would get up in the morning and leave before we got up, because he was so busy. And at some point, he would say that I did not attend to my family as I should. I attended to the larger family. I leave this to Sadr, my mother. God bless her soul. So, where was I going?
So what I wanted to know is, first, the things that you just explained are not things that a religious figure, like a scholar, back at that time, Sayyid Musa was a Sayyid, a religious scholar. The thing about that is, usually religious scholars are not the ones telling people to get up, we have to do more, we have to improve our sustenance. They're not the people that are telling the young ladies, hey, let's learn hairdressing, or let's learn how to make a nice bouquet of flowers, or any of this stuff. This is something that, especially nowadays, you hear it, pursue your dreams, aspire to be great. When we think about that time, we are not thinking about a religious scholar that is talking like this to people. And I realized I was reading about Sayyid Musa a little bit, and you can tell right away he was the type of person that will tell you that, no, you have to be your own leader. You have to make something out of yourself. You can't just be complacent. Like these are some of the things that he preached. And now there's like a new wave of motivation where people are using this type of language. And to think that there was a religious scholar back then that was telling people to do this, first speaks volumes to what kind of community he found, like how the people were at that time. And shifting that to women and woman empowerment is also something that we recently see a lot of. So you're talking about things that are kind of ahead of his time.
Ahead of 1960.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Yes. Now let me explain something, okay? Sayyid Musa, as a young lad, he wanted to go to traditional university. It wasn't his aim to go into a religious scholarship, or becoming a religious person. His father, Sayyid Sadr al-Din, who was a marja, and also his grandfather, and if you go back many generations, they were...
It's a lineage of scholars.
Scholars, and very good ones. Sayyid Sadr al-Din was called from, he was in the historic timeline for Sayyid Musa. It starts in, let's say, in Shhur. Shhur in the 1700s. Al-Jazzar came and he was persecuting the scholars. One of them was Sayyid Yusuf, our great-great-great-grandfather. Sayyid Yusuf had Sadr al-Din, Sharaf al-Din, and Hibatullah. These three. These people came and killed Hibatullah. There were left Sadr al-Din and Sharaf al-Din. And they took Sayyid Yusuf to prison in Akka. Before he left, he told his sons, he said, please pick up the whole family and leave. They went to Iraq. In Iraq, they went to Najaf, and they were there for a generation or two. From that generation, Sayyid Sadr al-Din had children, and the second generation was again Sayyid Sadr al-Din, who's my grandfather, Sayyid Musa's father. Sayyid Sadr al-Din left to Mashhad in Iran. And there he went to study and or to continue his education, or he also became a very respected marja. Sayyid Burujardi, God bless his soul, from Qom, called on him and asked him, please come to Qom to help me with the Hawza. He was a progressive. He wanted to make change. So he, at the beginning, he said, I will be the imam of the prayers. But then he started getting involved into the activities, and he wanted to create a curriculum for the education study, meaning units, meaning 120, 180, whatever it is, units to get your degree. Some people go and they take their own time to study, but that's not, it doesn't make you use your time wisely. I think maybe, I'm just guessing that's what his thought was. So at that time, he had when he was in Qom, he was having issues with that. So he tells his son, Sayyid Musa, if you would please get into the Hawza. And his rationale was that you can help me with I don't know, for lack of other words, because he was very smart and very attentive. He said, you can help me. And it wasn't something that he wanted to do. So he got into the Hawza. After a while, Sayyid Sadr al-Din, he said, okay, if you want to continue your academic education, go ahead.
So Sayyid Musa really never wanted to go that religious scholar route. He wanted to go more traditional learning.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
And I get that from my sister. I don't know. Sister Maliha, she had an interview with NBN, and I got that out of those. She did a lot of studying of Imam Musa and his activities. So she is more knowledgeable than I am. But I took this from her outcome. So when he gave him the okay, he said, no, I will continue both. And once he went, and he didn't go to a religious degree. No, he went to law and finance, so he can learn those trades. So when he finished, when he graduated, this is what he thought. He thought that I would be a good leadership if I am a religious person, a religious scholar. I would have more authority to help people in a form of a alim. And by the way, if he would have stayed in Qom, Sayyid Musa, he would have probably been one of the Maraja. And that is because he had so much. He was a bookworm, like they call him in America.
Yeah.
We have his library. It has hundreds of books, maybe thousands of books. And these books, some of them are 200-300 years old. And he had read them because he thought that that's the best way to have knowledge. The other things that I see in Sayyid Musa is he was true. He was true to his creator. So that made him different. And the things that he thought, he thought that, let me read this, because
Yes.
he thought that a person that wants to make change needs to be organized. There are 4 steps of organization. 1, you need to be organized within yourself, meaning to be, I'm not talking about physical.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about being
Internally.
open and very attentive. The second one is to be organized with your fellow citizen, meaning other humans. You need to be, you need to have a good rapport with others to be able to help them or influence them or learn from them. The third one, with his universe, with his world, meaning if you know that the universe is going and you know what you're saying is according to what God wants and what the universe accepts or wants, you would stand for it, whether you're 100% or you 1%. Meaning, when you say things that are very detrimental or that are very rational or very illogical to others, but you see it that it is in harmony with your universe, you would continue your way, whether even if it is, like they say, وَلَوْ عَلَى أَطْهَرْ رَابٍ. And the fourth one is you need to be in complete coordination with your creator. So 4 points.
Internally, with your citizens, with your universe, and with your creator.
Yes. This is how he managed. This is how he managed to be such a focal point and such an influencer. In Lebanon, the enemy and the foe, the friend, used to respect Sayyid Musa.
Let's take a small break from the conversation and let me tell you about today's sponsor, Whoop. Whoop is a fitness wearable that I have on 24/7. While I'm asleep, while I'm awake, it gives me all the most important vitals that I need for my everyday health. From my sleep to my strain, which is like the workload that I put on my body, to my recovery, to how well rested my body is, to the stress that I go through every day. And with the end of the year coming up, there's health and fitness goals on every single one of our resolutions every single year. Your health is something that you always have to improve. And I think wearing Whoop is one of the most important decisions that I've made this past year. And because you're a listener of this podcast, Whoop wants to give you a month for free. But I can almost guarantee that once you have it on, you'll never take it off. Go to join.whoop.com/notfromhere to try it out today, or just hit the link in the description. And now back to the episode. To your point, I remembered that during my research for this, I think it was Sitra Bab. She said that people get surprised when they know that before Sayyid Musa came to Lebanon, he had friends. His friends were the artists of Iran, and the reporter asked her, "What do you mean the artists, like Fannanin?" And then just people that create art, and then because the connotation that Sayyid Musa wouldn't be like a religious scholar wouldn't be friends with artists because maybe they differ with him religiously, or they chose another path. But she said that he was their friends also, and they would sit and have conversation, and that's also appealing. And it's odd to hear that, oh, a religious scholar thinks like that. I thought we were only like, if you're religious, we sit together and we talk and we have a good conversation. But maybe if you chose a different path, maybe we can't because we don't align religiously. But his way of thinking was like, no, like everyone is welcome to sit down. And from what I've read and what I've learned so far is that he does this because he's so confident that if you are organized in those ways that you just spoke about, and you sit with whoever you sit with, your energy automatically takes over, So we say the good always prevails. So the good in you will always prevail on whoever's in front of you. And I think that could be, and correct me if I'm speaking wrong, maybe I understood this completely wrong, but that's why he was such a charismatic figure, like that everyone went to.
A student of the doctorate degree in France sat with Imam Musa and had a conversation, question and answer. We turned it, the center turned it into a book. And it's the title is Kalimatun huwa qailuha.
A word that he has spoken.
Yes. Now, one of the questions was about conversation, about, talking to others. And Sayyid Musa, this is my understanding, says that when I sit and talk to others, my goal is to talk to others. My goal is not to convert others. My goal is not to change other people's minds. My reasoning is to get knowledge wherever it is. This is my understanding. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm saying that this is how open Sayyid Musa is. For example, he used to talk to the Boy Scouts, and the Boy Scouts, he usually urged them not to sit with the older people. He used to ask them to sit by themselves. The reason is because they're the young, they're the energy, and they have their own system. Today we say that between me and my kids, there's 2-generation gap because of the technology, because of this and that. Well, that's something that he had realized. And that's how he wanted the youth to be the beginning and the leaders of the future.
No, the idea is he found that the way to move forward is to move forward together.
Yes.
We have, and this is, Lebanon is divided in a way where each place has its own religion. Like this part of town is for the Christians. This part of town is for Shia Muslims. This part of town is for Sunni Muslims. This part of town is for Druze. And it's like every part of town has its own government and it has its own people that tell it what to do. His way of thinking was, no, to move the country forward together, we have to all unite. And I think that's what made him so dangerous to the people in power, because when you do something like that, automatically the people, for example, that govern this part of town, they lose their power because they're not restricted to that part of town anymore. Like the whole control that they had was over this square footage of Lebanon or of Beirut or of Jnub or whatever. When you tell these people that this person isn't the person governing you anymore, and now there's now we're all going to unite and we're all going to move forward, and everyone is, he mentions this a lot, we're leaders, you're a leader, you have to be a leader. So now there started to be like a threat to these people that are governing these places, that we might lose our power. And I think that's what really made the people in power look at him as dangerous to them.
That meaning the traditional and the feudals. That is true. Sayyid Musa says that Lebanon, if it didn't exist, we have to create Lebanon. Meaning, with all the sects that are there, he did not say he said, he used to say التعايش, not العيش المشترك. عيش المشترك is separate.
It means everyone's living
yes
together but in different areas. التعايش is all living together, like throughout.
Yes, and the census that in Lebanon, if you look at Lebanon, there are so many inter-religious mixes in families. We have Christian, Muslim. We have
Druze.
Though they are a little more confining. But I'm saying that there is a lot of interracial marriages or religious marriages. And that's because of the way Lebanon is. I mean, there are Christians that live in the same section, in the same sector as other Muslim groups.
Yeah, we go to school together, we go to universities together.
And we are open.
Yeah.
Yani Lebanese people are open more than any other culture in the region, let's say. So he believed in this, and he used to say, الطوائف نعمة, sects are blessings, are a blessing. But the طائفية, sectarianism, نقمة, is a curse.
Yeah.
So this is where and let's start from the beginning. Sayyid Musa, when he started working in the south, the religious figures that listened to him most were Christians. And that's why he started working with them. He was very courteous to others. I'll give you an example. When he came to visit Sayyid Abdul Hussein in 57, and I think it's at that time, there were a bunch of ulama sitting, and he was one of them. At one point before he left, Sayyid Abdul Hussein says, "Can I talk to you separately?" So he speaks to him and then comes out, and then when he comes, he announces to the others, he says, "This is the person that's going to take my place." An Iranian, so supposedly,
born in Iran.
Born in Iran, to come to Lebanon to take the place of everybody else. They say, why? And at that time, he takes out a sheet of paper out of his pocket. He says, because of this man has a plan. He wants to change. He wants to perform renovation, if you will. So, this book that you have now, the gathered for the, what's it called? The one,
this one?
The
bottom?
This one is a lecture that he gave in 1975 as the person who is giving the Lent sermon.
Yeah.
Would you imagine a bishop coming and doing Salat al-Jum'ah?
Yeah.
This is what he did.
Yeah.
And that's how much they believed him and how much they accepted his manner.
When was the point where you as Hamid looked at what he was doing and where it was like, oh, Baba's doing something that's not normal? Like, what was there a moment of realization inside the house at the time?
No. I learned these things very recently.
Interesting.
Because I was, well, 1975, we were surrounded in a house because they wanted to assassinate Imam. He didn't come, so they left.
But you say that so casually, that we were in a house and we were surrounded and people wanted to assassinate Imam. But at that time, what was, like, how were, because
we were scared. Yeah, definitely. We were scared, but I don't even remember what happened.
you were like 14, maybe, at that time.
Yes. So we moved from that, we go to Aramun. That's in the middle of the civil war. Again, something else happens that endangers the life of Imam. So at that point, he decides that, okay, I don't want you to be here because you can be a hindrance for me. And he promised my mom because, he always spoke to my mom and explained to her what's happening, what he's doing.
Your mom was very supportive, it seems like.
Very supportive. Very, yeah. I can go into details, but before we say that, he said, and to be safe, I will get out of Beirut and I'll go to Baqa. And I will sit there. I will stay there so I wouldn't be in danger. That's how she agreed. So we got up and left and went to Paris.
When you were 14?
15.
So that was the last time you saw your father?
No, I saw him,
later on?
I mean, he used to visit us.
Okay.
But that wasn't the end of the assassinations, At one point, he had to go to Damascus, and he got into a helicopter. And on the way, they were going, and one of the people that was in the helicopter with him said that I heard 86 bullets that are, against airplanes that were thrown at the airplane, at the helicopter, and they missed. So this is a Sayyid Musa, like you said, he was a danger to rigid minds.
But how do you feel when you knew at 15, like, oh, so the people are trying to assassinate my father? Like, do you understand? You don't understand that at 15?
No, I was 15, and I had my own, cave. My father makes a joke out of it. He said, Hamid has a world of his own. Meaning I used to do things my own way, and what you see now is 180 degrees of what I used to be. But better late than never.
Yeah. So because at that age you weren't thinking like, I want to be like Dad at all?
No, not really.
So when was the last time you saw your father?
I saw him in 1978, before he went to
Libya.
He came to Paris. My mom was at the hospital because she had some health issues. We saw him, and then he left from there.
Were there last words? Do you remember a last conversation that you had with your father? Because at that point, you're 19 years old. Now, you're not a kid anymore.
Yeah. Well, it was a, it was a period of time that he was concerned about me.
He was concerned about you?
Yeah.
In what way?
I was, like I said, I was very personal. So he said, is there anything you want to tell me? And at that time, I was, as stubborn as I was, I said no. And I regret that point.
If you go back to that same question, what would you have said?
I would talk to him. I would explain, but
what would you have said?
I would have. I have never thought of that. To be honest with you, but probably I would have shared what I was doing myself.
It's sad because you reflect on this stuff later, and in the moment you don't know the weight of the moment. You don't know that after this moment you're going to spend the rest of your life waiting for your father to come back.
Yeah.
And he asked you.
But this is the thing that we as his children do. We get ourselves busy doing something else because it's not something that we can think about.
So there's that last encounter, and then he goes to Libya. Now, I heard that there were countries that told him that trip to Libya, don't go. Like
no countries.
I heard.
No.
So is that false? That there are reports that some people in power told them
Lebanon,
don't go to Libya.
In Lebanon.
I heard also in Saudi they told them don't go. Is that true?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. But you weren't aware of the dangers of him going to Libya at that
No.
time. You thought it was just a trip that Bob was going on.
I didn't know about all the trips.
Okay.
We didn't. He spoke to my mom, but my mom kept it to herself. Yes, he went to Syria. He went to Saudi. He went to Jordan. He went to Algeria. That was the last trip that before he went to Libya, and that's where God bless his soul, Boumediene, they discussed what he was trying to do at the time. He was trying to create an Arab summit, which is something that usually governments do.
Yeah.
But he was trying to do that because Lebanon was in a very hard time.
Yeah.
Because all of the factions, the fighting and stuff like that. So
when do your family know that he went missing? At what point do you get the news?
From the beginning. We were in Paris,
Okay.
and they started calling us and explaining things to us. But the time frame, yes, he went on the 26th, which was just a few days before Eid al-Fitr. 26th of August, he went to Libya, and on the 3rd, usually when he goes, he's always in contact with both my mom, Majlis al-Shi'i, and the Haraki. And those contacts were not made. And
From the 26th until the 31st?
Until the 31st, yes.
Okay.
On the 31st, before the 31st, he was able to send a small letter.
Before the 31st?
Yeah, before the 31st. He wrote a letter, a small letter, very, if you look at it, if you analyze it, it's a distressed letter, but he sent it to the family in Paris with a friend that met him at the Lebanese embassy. in Libya.
What did the letter say?
I don't want to say things that I don't remember. I mean, he said to
Like, what's
yeah,
the
the
message behind
the
the letter?
message. He said that to Sadri and Hamid and the family, I will be meeting you in a couple of days, 2 or 3 days, in Paris. Please tell so and so something. I don't remember. But it wasn't the usual letter he writes. Usually his letters are short and stuff, but this letter was different. And I think we have it. I mean, I can bring it out someday, but not now. So, yeah.
So you find the letter. So you get the letter.
And Sadri, my brother,
Yes.
gets the letter, and they go through it, and they are waiting,
When is he going to come to Paris? It's been a
at the
few
time,
days.
At that time, the contacts between Sadr Sadruddin, and Majlis al-Shi'i, and my aunt were ongoing to see what can be done, what is it that needs to be done. The Lebanese president tried calling. They didn't get an answer. He didn't get an answer.
At that point, do you feel like it's going to be a long time? Or
No.
like when you stop contact?
No, it was one day at a time.
Was it?
Yes.
So at that point, it wasn't like Baba's missing. It's just like we're just waiting for him to come, waiting for to hear something. You
Yeah.
probably thought of maybe the best case scenarios and the worst case scenarios.
No, I didn't think of those.
Okay, you
what
thought
I
best case scenario?
Yeah.
Like it's just any minute and then he'll
Yes.
talk to us.
Yes. Or he will be here.
And when was the point where you were like, okay, this might be a while?
It was a very long time.
Long time after his after August 31st.
Yeah. And that's the point where we had to just, God give her strength. Sitra Bab had the burden of following through with everything, going to places, going to countries, and going with the officials of Lebanon, like Majlis al-Shi'i, to investigate, to ask questions, and nothing came out of it. Lots of information was collected from that point on.
But the disappearance, there's 2 ways you have to consume it as Hamid. You have to consume it as Hamid and as a family, the Sadr family that just lost their father, just lost their husband, and just lost their brother for Sitra Bab. And then in the same breath, you also have to consume it as the Lebanese people, as the whole community that just lost a leader that was onto so much change. So how do you kind of do that in those like very different realms? How do you consume it as a family first?
I would say lost contact with.
Yes.
But I was, like I said, I was 15, 16?
At that time, 19
At that time.
now, when he disappeared.
87? 78.
78.
78. Yeah, I was 19. Still, I was just living one day at a time.
Okay.
And definitely it affected me in every way. I mean, as a student, I was not the best student. I was just going because that was what kept me busy. It wasn't until 83 that I came to the United States that I started focusing on trying to study. And it wasn't until 89 that I got into Lawrence Tech, and then I put my head together and I started studying wholly.
But there wasn't a point because you had explained that you were a very reserved to yourself person, and then you changed 180 degrees.
I didn't open up, but I changed 180 degrees with knowledge. Meaning what I knew about my father was not enough. So I started learning about what he was doing and what he stood for and what thoughts or what plans he had.
Why do you think personally they took him?
There are many reasons. So many. But we, as a family, as a committee, as we want the Lebanese government to focus on, is to bring those who committed such an act to law, to court. Meaning there is a court and there are subpoenas in the names of, it started with 17 with Gaddafi, and then it turned into 27, those people that were involved or can at least testimony the events that took place at the time when they were taken. We would always focus on that. Bring the culprit first, then after that, whoever says anything that is logical, that makes sense, we'll go after the rest of the people that they mention. If they say Hamid was part of the equation, I'll go to court. If they say this country was part of the equation, that country will be questioned. If they say the Lebanese government was
In collusion?
No, I wouldn't say that. But was guilty of a certain act, I will go after that. But first we start with the culprits.
He was such a big figure, right? And you're talking about an Arab summit. That means it includes multiple Arab countries. And you just mentioned every place he went to, and we know the impact that he did in all these places. Do you not think, why didn't more countries pressure Libya into giving that kind of information? Is it just because Muammar al-Gaddafi was that type of guy where he wouldn't budge, or was there something else to it? Because you have some superpowers in those countries. Lebanon's a small country, okay? Small government. Maybe some of these bigger countries overlook Lebanon and its power. But you have some powerful countries that maybe potentially, that's how I'm thinking about it, potentially could have pressured Libya into giving information. Why didn't that happen?
Gaddafi from day one, or after they asked him, he said that they went to Italy on the 31st, on flight such and such. Okay. We investigated, or we went to Italy and created an investigation in that regard. And it's all on the imamsadr.net website now. They came to the conclusion that Imam Sadr did not come into Italy. And the second time, they came to the conclusion that Imam Sadr did not leave, and his companions, his friend, his brothers, did not leave the Libyan land. So he did not get on the airplane. And what had happened is that 3 people got dressed in, or 2 people, because they separated Sayyid Musa, Sheikh Muhammad Mehdi, and Sayyid Abbas Badruddin. They separated them. They 2 people got dressed in their clothes. They did some kind of makeup. They changed the pictures on the passports, and they took them and they went through the Italian
Customs.
Fiumicino Airport, and they went into the Holiday Inn. They took a couple of rooms. They paid for them full. The things that, if you read and look, you would see that they do not make sense.
Yeah.
First of all, the writing of the names and things like that. Plus, these guys went into their rooms. They threw everything all over the place. The clothes that were in the papers that were there were mixed here and there. So it was an act of, intelligence.
Yeah.
That took care of this. And then, after 10 minutes, they came down and they were dressed in a different way and they left. So this is the story that Gaddafi said for 24 years, from 78 until 2002. In 2002, he, in the celebration in September, the 1st of September, he says, yeah, Musa Sadr is our friend. He is the leader of Muqawami in Lebanon and this and that. Yes, he came here and he got kidnapped. After 24 years of lying and saying that
He went to Italy.
he went to Italy, he says these phrases. And during all this time, the things that he used to say, that he's an Israeli, he works for the Mossad, he works for the Shah, things like that. So there's a lot of answers that need to be, there are questions that need to be answered by these people, him and his.
So you think
goons.
that's why, like, the bigger countries couldn't pressure him, because he was lying.
Because they thought it was a thing between Lebanon and Libya.
But still, like, it's not just a thing. It's a very big deal. You had a person that was doing all this change, and I wouldn't call it just a thing. It's way more than that.
I know, definitely. I'm just
Yeah.
I'm just saying how the traditional or the simple terms would be.
And I have another question. It's been such a long time. So
46 years.
46 years. So Said Musa would be
95.
in his mid-90s now. And at this point, why would they still suppress information? Like, they have Said Musa still, okay? A 95-year-old is not going to have the energy as a 50-year-old did, and the change that he was doing. So they know if whatever the result was, whatever happened to Said Musa, whether they still have him or they don't, or whatever, that information you would think can be told, for closure for the family. You till this day you're still looking for the answer. What happened to Baba in 1987?
No, we're not
1978.
Yeah, we're not looking for an answer. We're looking to have them back. Inshallah, all the intelligence, all the information that we have is that they're still alive.
Okay.
That's
That's
point one.
the standpoint of your family.
No, not only my family. That's the standpoint of the committee, which is
the Sadr Foundation committee, you mean?
No. Sadr Foundation, the committee in Lebanon. There's an official committee that was created in 2012 after the demise of Gaddafi. And they had luxury or the capability of going to Libya. They created a committee that's made of judges, Wazir Khariji,
Foreign Minister.
of Foreign Ministry, yeah. There are lawyers, there are forensic scientists, everything. It's a very professional committee that has been working on the file since 2012. They created this committee and then they went to Libya and they spoke to the government in Tripoli at the time. And it wasn't still a stable, and they still are not stable country. They sat with them and they discussed these things. And what they told them is that, yes, they are here, but we don't know where. They said, okay, let's look for them. I'm making it very simple. But so they looked in the northern part of Libya, which is, from Tripoli all the way to Benghazi.
This is 2012.
2014.
2014.
That's the time when they went into Libya.
And they told them they're still here?
They told them they're still here, but we don't know where. So
why wouldn't the government know where they are?
Because, I'll explain.
Yes.
So, they looked into all the places that they might be in northern Libya. Now, the southern part of Libya is tribal area, tribes of the Qaddafi. So if you are in there, you would not be found. You know what I'm saying? That's because it's tribes. It's not anything organized. You can be anywhere, but not known that you are there. So hopefully at one point these people will interact with the situation. But they have lied to us. They said that, yes, we will form a committee with you, and they did. They signed a memorandum of understanding to continue with the case, and they keep going back and forth, and not keeping their promise with this respect. They have been going back and forth. I can't go into the details because I don't know them. So they have tried to come to Lebanon 2-3 times to get some kind of a resolution. And since 2015, since the son of Gaddafi was taken, they've been trying to also work on that to get him out. He was interrogated, and for 5 hours...
His son?
Yes.
Hannibal?
Yes.
Yeah.
And for 5 hours, he divulged information that are very detrimental, meaning that are very important. But at one point, he stopped, and he said, look, I can give you the names of 2 people that know where he is. But you got to put me on the plane before you do that.
But you just said that they've been compulsively lying to you. So how do you know that?
That is the same thing. I mean, I'm saying that this guy was talking like a parrot for 5 hours. He was answering questions and answers. He was being interrogated. But at one point he said, okay, I will stop now. I will resume when you put me on an airplane. And that means I'm not going to answer.
But why? They're so old now. Like, a prisoner that old would be a burden on them even. You still have to take care of them. Like,
I don't know why. I mean, it's myself, my own conclusion.
Yeah, as Hamid.
These are the same people that were working under Gaddafi, isn't it? Some of them were outside, but they were people, Gaddafi's people.
Is it stubbornness? Is it ego?
No, it's, I don't know what it is. Probably they're afraid. They're going to have a shame on their, I don't know. I really don't know.
Why would you do you ever think, why would they keep them alive for that long? Like, after all this time, why would they not come to the conclusion, maybe we should eliminate them, and they would be less than less burden on us?
They tried a few times. After they met with them, a couple of times they sent, okay, we found them in such and such freezer. And, finally they did a, what's it called? They did a
DNA test?
DNA testing. and they have our DNA. So now they cannot keep repeating the same false story over and over.
And they took your DNA and they didn't do the DNA test?
No, not them.
Oh.
We did it.
You did
We
it.
did it, and they sent it to somewhere in Europe that did the testing, and they came to the conclusion that this DNA does not match that DNA.
Just being realistic, the hope is never 80% or 90% always. There's times where maybe you feel less hopeful and it goes down, and then there's times where you're really hopeful. I want to know, when was the most hope you've ever had when it came to finding your father?
Our only hope is Allah, is God. I mean,
But like, was there a situation or something that you
No.
heard and you were like, oh, like this might be it?
I'll tell you what, Sayyid Musa is madloom.
He is.
He's been madloom from the beginning. And the people that are taking care of this case don't know what to do. Meaning, they have no, I don't know, they don't have the, let me go back. If any one of us or them or these people that are in charge were to be abducted, Sayyid Musa will not be sitting for 46 years. I'll give you an example. Imam Khomeini, God bless his soul, in 63, I think, was sent to jail in Iran, and there was a probability of him being executed. Sayyid Musa went all over the world. He went to the Vatican. He went to the European countries. He went to people who had influence on the Shah, except for America. And he pleaded. And the result was the Iranians sent him to the Turkish border, and they annihilated it. I mean, they sent him over there. From there, he was able to go to Iraq and stay in Iraq.
Yes.
Now, this is not a story that everybody knows.
So you're saying Sayyid Musa saved Sayyid
Yes.
Khomeini?
Yes, I am. Sayyid Khomeini was Imam's teacher at one point.
Mm.
And he really believed that Sayyid Musa is an influencer. And Sayyid Musa at one point, he was a very important figure in Lebanon for the Iranian Revolution.
How
So
interesting.
when the committees, when the whole Majlis al-Shi'i, Harakat Amal, and the family went to Iran in 79 after the revolution, they met with Sayyid Khomeini, and his prayer was, Insha'Allah, we'll pray in Quds together with Sayyid Musa. Imam Khomeini thought that way.
There's people that say that there's collusion with inside Lebanon, and I'm saying this out loud because I think you're the best person that can speak on this. And they say that the President of Parliament of Lebanon, Nabih Berri, had something to do with it. And I watched your sister say that that's nonsense. That
I agree with her. It's nonsense. Nabih Berri, from the day he got introduced to Sayyid Musa in the early 60s, a friend of Sayyid Musa, God bless his soul, the attorney Ahmed Abaisi, told him that some sheikh of the Berri family had passed away. Let's go and Azzi. And that's something that my sister says. At the time, Ustaz Nabih was the head of the Harakat Tullabiyya, and he was an intellectual, and he had a mind of his own. He thought as an intellectual. And when Ahmed Abaisi told him, let's go, he said, okay, let's go see what this sheikh is saying. That's the beginning. He went, and Sayyid Musa came to the ta'ziyah. Okay, salam. But the family, insisted that please stay for lunch. And he stayed for lunch, and there were conversations. Also, after lunch, he stayed for a while longer. Ustad Nabih was in these conversations. In that sitting, Ustad Nabih became a follower of Imam Musa. And I hate it when people talk like that.
Why does that make you emotional?
One thing that I don't like in people, especially the Lebanese, is the conversations they have. If we know the punishment for ghibe, for talking about people without knowledge, just transferring information without researching, just saying things, it's haram. There's our books that we read in, most our ulama, they have ibadat and they have mu'amalat. In mu'amalat, one of the most important lines is about speech, about what you say. They say, if you are not sure of what you're saying, don't say it. If you are sure of what you're saying, don't say it for the karami of that person. I don't know. I mean, this is why I get emotional. Because I know that our tongue, Imam Ali says that, our tongue is going to take us to hell. I don't think there's any slipperier slope than ghibe, than talking about others without knowledge.
But this one specifically hurts you.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, every single one of them. Whenever I hear anybody say anything about anyone, I say, do you know that for a fact? I don't like to sit there and listen to these conversations.
Your sister says that he's with you guys at every step
Yes.
of
Yes.
the, like, even recently they went to Moscow, they went to Russia. And I think the interviewer asked her, like, oh, did he know? She was like, no, actually he didn't know. He was on the table. He told us exactly what we were supposed to do.
Yes.
To get the best result. And I think people don't know how involved he is with you guys.
He is not, I mean, he's involved with Imam Musa. It's not for us. He is in the same line of thinking. Okay, he's not a marja. He doesn't have a turban on his head. He's a politician. But he doesn't play politics with Imam Musa. He does not. So when anything comes up with disrespect, we consult with him. And he's always, very, very supportive.
Why did you come to America?
I came to the United States because my mom wanted me to get out of Lebanon.
Mm.
And because she saw that I was not to the best of my potential. I mean, I was going to the university, like I told you, to pass time, So she said, I did a khiri, go.
Yeah.
And at the time, when she did that, I started talking to my friends, the young friends that we have. They had friends in Wyoming. So they said, we can get you an I-20 from over there at the time. So I got an I-20 and I went to...
Did you, was your perspective that I want to continue the message of my father? Because there were people on the ground, you mentioned Satrabab, they're doing that work in Lebanon. They're trying to keep their best to keep the message alive. When you came here, was that an idea that I want people here to know who Sayyid Musa is?
No, that started developing at a later age.
What's that later age?
Even after we got the 501c for the Sadr Foundation.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I was busy.
Did you not want anything to do with it at first?
No, it's not that. It's not that. But I didn't know enough.
Were you not curious?
Not at that point.
People will listen to this and say, how could he not be curious, for example? Like, do you know who your dad is? Like, we talked about most influential figure in the Middle East at the time. And people don't realize that at the end of the day, you didn't call him Sayyid Musa, you called him Baba. And there's something to it there. He's a father figure first before being Imam Musa Sadr. And I think, and this is just my assumption, is you always kind of wanted to look at him as Baba. And then it was at a point where, okay, he outgrew that maybe. And now you're like, okay, now we have to continue the path of Sayyid Musa rather than look at him as only Baba. Because you mentioned him multiple times. You never said Baba once yet.
Yes,
during
I
this
call him
conversation.
Imam.
Why don't you call him Baba?
I call him my leader now. Definitely, I used to call him Baba maybe 15, 20 years ago.
Even when you talk to your siblings, you don't refer to him as Baba?
No, definitely I say Baba. Because that's, that's our own circle. But to go back to why, probably it's denial.
Mm.
And I'm very good at that. And it took me until just, like 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago when I started getting really involved in the Sadr Foundation, and I started looking and reading and seeing things that Imam has said that made me start researching that and start taking it in, start, let's say, accepting it. But I still look at him as my leader.
Mm.
And like I'm the biological son, there are many, many, many not biological sons to Imam Musa. And you see them everywhere.
Does it make you proud when you see the change that he's done?
Oh, wow. It makes me very proud. Sayyid Musa was in Lebanon for 18 years. I feel bad for not having him this 45 years, because I know it would have been another thing. I know.
I'm going to ask you a personal question, a little personal. Let's say, the whole world has internet now, right? And your father is somewhere, inshallah, in Libya. He's healthy, he's safe. And someone tells him, look at Hamid, someone's showing him this conversation. What's something that you would want him to hear?
Help us bring you back. We need you.
Now you're in America, 501c3 is done. Now it's time to get to work, you know? Now it's time to continue the message. What are some things that the Sadr Foundation does to the youth? Because I told you this when I first met you, is I just know Sadr Foundation as like a foundation related to Imam Musa Sadr. And then you were like, yeah, but it's a little more than that. And I was like, okay, what do you do? And now it's time to tell us, what does the Sadr Foundation, what does it stand for? What's the mission? What can people expect when they see Sadr Foundation, other than this is just a foundation that the children of Sayyid Musa and the sister of Sayyid Musa are working on?
Our mission is similar to Imam Sadr Foundation's mission in Lebanon. We're separate and we're independent, but we go by whatever they want us to do. And let me just read. It's, we strive towards a modern society that embraces social justice and fights ignorance, poverty, illness, and violence. This is the mission.
How do you do that?
Very similar. We do that by now, in the past, let's say, few years, we do education. And from the beginning, we used to have educational seminars, little one here, little one there, especially towards women. We used to have health education seminars. We used to have vaccines. We recently created a set of committees that includes some of our younger members. And these committees are separated, and they each has its own mission. One of the activities the organization has done was in 2008, for example. We had a student from University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. And he wanted to do a seminar a conference regarding Imam Musa. And he collected some big heads, big thinkers. One of them was Juan Cole. And there were others that were there. The keynote speaker was, God bless his soul, Richard Norton, who passed away a few years back. And the name of the conference was Imam Musa, the legacy and modernity, which discussed his intellectual aspects. A couple or three of the things that happened in the past 2-3 years. First of all, when COVID came, we got some funds from the Wayne State, from the Wayne County, and we helped people around with food. We gave them food coupons, and we helped them with electric bills. At the time, it was winter. Some people were getting eviction notes, and some people were getting shut-off notes for their electric power. We have done in the past. We helped, for example, we sent some funds to the firefighters of New York in 2001. We also participated in the Katrina hurricane.
Yeah. It sounds like you do. It's kind of the same as your father did. You help everyone.
It's not me.
It's not. Yes, the organization. It does work with all the communities, and it's local. Like it's in America. It's not like you're doing stuff here to send it.
No, we
back
do.
home.
We do.
We do.
I mean,
You do
we
that
do.
too.
We help the Imam Sadr Foundation by projects.
Okay.
They send us projects that they have. That was before the war, and we would send them funds that they ask for if we have them, and if we don't, we say this is what we have, and we send them what we have. But they also, in turn, they send us pictures, photos, reports of what they have done. Not that they need to, but because for our own records here, for IRS records and stuff like that. A couple of years ago, there was an initiative by our youth or one of our committees. They had a seminar for students or classes for middle school students, meaning like 13, 14 or 14 to 17 regarding drugs. And it was like 4 or 5 sessions, 1 week between. And the result of that was first of all, the students were so engaged and I saw them. Some of them were rambunctious, they were crawling on the walls because they had so much energy. But the end of the class, they created a video of themselves. Each one of them took a video, and they combined it into their learning about the bad side effects of drugs. And we put it on our media. Another initiative was we sent like six or seven doctors to Lebanon for a week on their own expense. We just provided, room, food, lodging. And they went, and these were good, doctors that have experiences, but they were younger doctors. And there were all kinds of doctors. We had endocrinologists, we had eye doctors, we had, bone doctors. And they went to our clinics. We have 8 clinics in the south, and we have 2 mobile clinics. So they went to some of these, and they worked there for a week, and maybe 5 days or 7 days. I'm not sure. But these doctors went, and they had a very enlightening experience. Meaning, first of all, they went and they saw people that that needed their help, but what their expectation was different than what they saw. Meaning, they went there, they expected to have chaos. It wasn't, because the foundation had brought the cases and their files up to date, and they put them for the doctors to be able to work. So they saw more than they see here in numbers and in experience. Some of them were saying, we saw cases that we have never seen before. Meaning, okay, that's something new for them, but it also shows what our people suffer from.
Yeah. New experiences for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Eye-opening. No,
That's
it seems like it's on the ground, inclusive, where it's not just limited to one community. And we said that that's what Sayyid Musa stood for. I, like, while I was doing research for this episode, I saw your brother, Sayyid Sadr. I saw your aunt, Sayyid Rabab. I saw your other sister, Sayyid Maliha. I didn't see you anywhere.
Me?
Is this your first time doing something like this? Speaking
publicly?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am not very comfortable with the camera.
And you're still to
publicly.
yourself. It's the same
Yeah.
19-year-old, 14-year-old that we spoke about. You're still...
So you can say 2-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I mean, telling the story of one of the most important people in modern history is very important. Like, this story has to keep being told. And
I don't do him justice. I mean, there are others that can do him justice more than I do. But this is what I am. This is what I can give.
But your perspective is important, because at the end of the day, you're his. Like, you carry his DNA. You lived in the same household as him. Is there anything that we didn't talk about today that you think we should have?
I am hopeful in all aspects of life, no matter what, because I have a belief that God is watching us all, whether it's here or back in our country. I have a lot of hope, and I pray that things change.
Would you move back to Lebanon?
I would retire in Lebanon, yes. The reason it's... I've had that experience.
I'm saying when your father returns.
Definitely. I would think about that, and I'm going to start thinking about that. But I went to Lebanon with my family in 2003, and we lived there until 2006. And my oldest daughter got devastated by watching the war for a couple or 3 weeks before we left. So that made them very apprehensive. You know, someone who's... I lived 3-4 wars in Lebanon, and I know what...
Yes, you know what to expect, what to do.
Yeah. But they don't.
Yeah.
Plus, to add to that, we went again in 2009 until 2011. I think it was all beneficial for them, because they created contacts with their cousins, with my aunt's children and their kids. And that's something that I treasure a lot, because I see it now, that I see that they're always messaging each other.
Yes.
I tell them, do you talk to them on the phone? They say, no, we text, we Instagram. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I'm old-fashioned. I like to talk.
You like to call. Yeah.
So this is this is what I think about Lebanon. I would be more, let's say, useful here for the foundation.
No, absolutely. I was just about to say, if we want to take a lesson out of Sayyid Musa's book and apply it here, it's becoming the leaders that we can hear and starting to make a change on this side of the planet and serve our purpose here.
I pray that change is coming here soon. I
Inshallah.
hope.
Inshallah.
Thank you very much.